10 years ago, I had a mentor who encouraged me to find a big problem and be part of the solution. I can't think of a bigger problem that America faces than the demographic crisis we're about to hit. They estimate that the shortfall, how much money seniors are going to need relative to how much they have, is $9 trillion. And that number's so big it doesn't mean a thing to any of us. And they say that all retirement savings and all home equity combined comes up to $4 trillion. And so that gap, that $5 trillion gap, it's a big number. It's 5 and a whole bunch of zeros, but here's what it really is. 25 million baby boomers are going to rely on Social Security for 90% or more of their income. And that's not enough money. And so that gap, those 25 million families that are heading to this, that means food versus medicine decisions. It means saying no to a whole bunch of things, little things that make life rich. It's just so much scarcity decision making. And that's the big problem. When I look at reverse mortgages, I don't see a product and a home loan and a commission. I see families that are literally stuck. And if you think about it, when you're 66 or 67 and you leave the workforce and you look at what you have and your husband or your wife needs a medical procedure and you can't afford it, or if you do afford it, it leaves your savings really small, that's a terrible place to be. And by then, the sands in the hourglass, they've run out. There is no more chance to go back and work. So for me, this is sort of my mission field. And this, I think, is my great calling. Because I've been told that one of my strengths is I can take really complicated things and explain them in a way, not where people say, oh, he's really smart, but in a way that when they leave my office, they say, I get it. I can explain this to my neighbor. I actually understand. And that's what brings me joy. It's having the heart of an educator, not a salesperson. For me, this couldn't be more personal. And I want to share a story with you that's hard for me to share. So my mom loses her husband of 29 years, and she's in a house that she can't afford. And she doesn't have a lot of equity. So we talked about the starfish and all those starfish on the beach that can't be helped. And so my mom has to leave the home she's in. So not only does she lose him, but she loses her home where she had lived. And so now we help support her, and that's no problem. And I always tell my mom, I'm not keeping score. We love you. This is no problem. But she comes from that generation where she's like, I just don't want to be a burden. And so many of the clients I talk to, they all say the same thing. We're not looking for a yacht. We don't want to buy a vineyard. We just don't want to be a burden. We're nervous about the expense of health care, and we'd sure like to take the grandkids out for a happy meal. The starfish that I can pick up, the people who do have some equity, many of them are stuck because they think, oh, a reverse mortgage is bad. And so they don't even consider it. They don't know. And so my mission is to educate as many of them as possible on what exactly the tool is and does, and maybe it can be useful for them. And I recently wrote a magazine article that's in a national magazine, and to write that article, I surveyed 238 financial services professionals, estate planning attorneys, financial advisors, tax preparers, etc. And I will tell you that over half of them had 1, 2, or 3 complete misconceptions about how the product works. They'll take you home. It's not true. There will be no equity left for the kids. In most cases, there's more equity when the person passes than there is today. So it is a very safe solution, but people don't understand it. So my mission is not to do X number of home loans a month. My mission is to educate as many people as possible. My competitors, financial services professionals, etc. Because the more people understand how it really works, the less there will be families who are just feeling trapped. And in the Great Recession, my family had some money issues, and I learned firsthand how all-consuming that is. Making trade-off choices between things that are really important, wondering, can you keep the home? To the extent that I can dial that pain, that stress down, I am convinced at the end of my days, I will lay there with a smile on my face and feel like I did good. And that's what drives me.